Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Late yesterday afternoon, Wednesday, I got an email because I follow Scott Agness's Fieldhouse Files on Substack. Agness, of course, is the beat reporter for the Indiana Fever and the Indiana Pacers. His email did not bring good news. I'm going to take you over to Substack and share with you what he shared. He later on Wednesday night did a live stream in which he gave information and he also took some questions. So the subject of all of this is Caitlin Clark. And the word we did not want to hear any more of concerning Caitlin Clark is injury. Well, the only word we wanted to hear along with injury pertaining to Caitlin Clark was she is now done with her injury and ready to return. But that's not the news we got. So let's go over to Substack. I'm going to share with you the portion of his article that I'm able to read. And then I'm going to share with you some of the takeaways that I got after he did the live stream last night. Headline is Sources, Caitlin Clark recovering from new injury. And you read that, you think something just happened. But as it turns out, it's not new in the way that we would define new. It's new because it's not the groin injury, and it's one that we're just finding out about because Scott Agness just found out about it from sources, as the headline says. So sources say that she's recovering from a new injury. Clark has battled a handful of injuries this season, limiting her to 13 games. Just 9 regular season contests remain in her sophomore year. The Indiana Fever's visit to Phoenix on August 7th is a day they won't soon forget. Before Sydney Colson went down with a torn left ACL in the first quarter and Ari McDonald suffered a broken bone in her right foot, All-Star guard Caitlin Clark sustained a new injury earlier in the day. Clark, who has been working her way back from a right groin injury, tweaked her left ankle during a workout session, Fieldhouse Files has learned. It happened near the very end, adding to the frustration. Now, that is certainly new news. We were all frustrated after the Phoenix game. Indiana lost that game by 35 points. DeWanna Bonner was chirping away, but then you had, like he said, Ari McDonald going out at the end, but earlier in the game, Sydney Colson going down. Then, as it turns out, earlier in the day, Caitlin Clark tweaked her ankle. It makes so much more sense now why the frustration was way over the top. Of course, Ari going down and Sydney going down the same game was frustration enough. But when I hear Lexi Hull and Kelsey Mitchell and even Aaliyah Boston in a podcast talk about the emotion that they experienced after that game, I get it now. I got it then with the 2 injuries, but now they were already dealing with the fact that Caitlin tweaked her ankle. So it was just like pile on upon pile on upon pile on. So no doubt the tears and everything, forget the 35-point loss. That was bad enough. But this and this and this, yeah, it's all coming together. We don't know everything. We have to understand we don't know everything that this team has been dealing with. Okay, so now I'm going to take you over to the live stream, and I'll put the link to that in the description of this video. You can watch the whole thing if you haven't seen it. It's over an hour. I'm only going to share with you 5 things, I think, unless I throw in some bonuses along the way. But I got like 5 takeaways to really sum up the main points as I see them from Scott Agness taking his time to share with us what he knows. Let's go on over to his YouTube page. Scott entitled his live stream, "The Latest Injury Update on Caitlin Clark. Tweaked ankle 2 weeks ago, still eyes return." Now, I'm going to play just a little bit of this for you, and then I'm going to share with you several things that I took away from what he was saying, his own comments, his own information, as well as what he shared when answering questions from you, perhaps, and many others.
Let's talk. Let's talk about the fever. Let's talk about the injuries, and let's talk about Caitlin Clark and the latest injury that I put out and discovered about and reported exclusively at fieldhousefiles.com. It was a gloomy day, even more than we knew about in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. Before Sydney Colson's injury, before Ari McDonald suffered a season-ending injury as well, it was Caitlin Clark who got injured, tweaking her left ankle. It's a mild bone bruise, but it's something she's had to deal with over the last couple of weeks, and something that is obviously factoring in her potential return here. And I will stress this here because I know a lot of people are questioning different things. Caitlin hopes to play this season. The Fever hopes she plays this season. Everybody wants to see her back this season. It's all about body willing. And I mean, it's just the most unusual thing for Caitlin, right? Given the fact that she is not a player that's dealt with injuries. This is all so new to her. So it's also been terribly frustrating. See, there you go. I come on here, go live, and you say she's out for this. No, Caitlin wants to be back. The goal was to be back already, to be clear. Nobody's pushing her out for the season. I don't know why fans keep insisting on this. Not at all. Sorry for that little rant, but we got to stop with the nonsense. If you don't know what you're talking about, if you're just assuming, you know what that means. It's a bad look to assume.
So there you have the beginning of his address to the fans. Shout out to him for being willing to do that. So that some questions are answered. As a reporter, he gets some information from a source and he brings it to the people. And of course, he knows that people are going to have questions because who knew that there was another injury? And so he's trying to share whatever he knows, dispel myths out there, take questions, all the things that I guess a good reporter with social media presence would do. And I took in all of it, all hour and 13 minutes of it, because I wanted to get the whole thing. And I knew that I couldn't get the whole thing without also hearing how he addressed some of the questions. But really, he kind of sums it up pretty early on, and then he allows other people to share what they have to say. So I'm going to give you the takeaways, and I'll put the link. You can watch the whole thing. First takeaway is the most obvious, and that is that Caitlin sustained another injury. This time, she tweaked her left ankle. Tweaked, what does that mean? She sustained a bone bruise. He emphasized that it is mild. So if you're wondering how major is it, it's mild. But if you have ever injured your ankle, you know, I mean, you're bearing the weight of your body. And so what is considered a mild injury is still a struggle. And so since that time, what was that? Was that August 7th when they played Phoenix? You can check the date. I believe I'm right there. But since that time, she's been struggling. And so yet another injury to deal with. But it's the left ankle and there's a bone bruise. Second thing that I want to share is that it sounded to me from watching his live stream, which I watched after the fact, by the way. I was not there live. I wasn't in the live stream part, wasn't in the chat, but afterwards, it sounded to me like Caitlin was making her way back from the groin stuff, all the groin, both, I think the left and the right groin situation sounded like she was making her way back. It sounded like perhaps that was going to be good news. And then this happened. And then obviously the extra emotions from her, no doubt, which we didn't get to see and didn't know anything about. But of course, her teammates did. And then they got to go out there and they got to compete. And then in that game, obviously, there's more to deal with. But it sounds to me like perhaps, I mean, it was during a workout session. It was at the end of the workout session. So I know that I just think that it was probably starting to look good. This is from me. This is from my takeaway. He might have said something along these lines, but then now you're set back once again, and so is the team. Another thing he really emphasized, and he emphasized it several times because people kept saying the same thing. And so he wanted to nip it in the bud. And that is, I guess some people got the impression that the team says she would be back at such and such a time. And he wanted to make sure you understood that the team never said that. And I can vouch for that, as many of you can, because when they first said it, they said that it was indefinite, that there was no date. And they even said it's not day to day. And when someone said day to day, I'm talking about with the groin injury, when someone misspoke, I think it was Sophie, and said day to day, might not have been Sophie, I think it was. Scott Agness had come back afterwards and he corrected that. It's not day to day. She's out indefinitely. There's no timetable at all. I know ESPN got up there and said something about, was it like the 12th or something? And somebody else said, I mean, he said that none of that came from the Indiana fever. And we know, because the Indiana fever repeatedly, whether you're talking to players, whether you're talking to coaches, whatever, whomever, I should say, there wasn't a timetable at all. And so he wanted to put the kibosh on that. So we're in the same situation we were then. No timetable for that. Although he did say that he would think, because you don't have a lot of time left, you would think that maybe the goal would be next week. But again, he's got no evidence of that whatsoever. He just kind of said, well, I would think that perhaps you're running out of time. But no news from the team at all about a date, a time, a game, nothing. Because we don't know, right? It's about the body. And the next one is this. The team has never, ever said when Caitlin would be back, because there's some mindsets or thoughts out there that the team said Caitlin was going to be back such and such day at a time, whatever. And he's like, no, the team never said that. And I can vouch for that. And so can many of you, I imagine, because the team specifically said it was indefinite, that they had no idea. And even when one of the members of the team misspoke and said it was day to day, Scott Agness came and he said that she misspoke. It's not day to day. There's no timeline at all. They have no idea when she's coming back. I know ESPN had some kind of prediction, and like I think maybe it was the 12th or something, and some people have said something else. Not the team. And the team, the members of the team keep telling us that, and the coaches of the team keep telling us that we have no idea when she's coming back. So where people are getting this, he even said, if you don't know what you're talking about, you probably shouldn't talk, because you tend to get it wrong. And there's so many voices and noises and people who think they know and don't know and all that. So it creates confusion and it creates more frustration for fans. Yes, but fans, it's not about us, really. I mean, it is in a way, right? Because you're fans, but it probably creates more frustration for Caitlin. So if you don't know, then you don't know. And if the team doesn't even know, and Sophie said on her podcast this week that even Caitlin doesn't know, so be careful what you take in. He pointed this out as well, right? But the team never said when she would come back. So for the next takeaway, I'm going to play just a little bit before I expound on it.
This is a case where Caitlin is busting her ass. Caitlin is doing everything possible to get out there. She wants to be out there. I included it.
Caitlin Clark is busting her tail to get back. So that's another takeaway. Lots of conversation. Caitlin doesn't want to come back. Caitlin just, the season is a bust, so she's just going to ride it out. Or she's not coming back because she's never going to be able to come back, and they're not going to have her come back. And so they're just kind of stringing people along and the whole thing. Those are some of the things that you hear. And so Scott Agness is saying, absolutely not. Caitlin is doing everything possible because she wants to play. And he talked about in this video some of the things that she's doing to get her body ready to be able to compete. And I said this many times, but as recent as yesterday, for people who say, well, I think Caitlin should just not come back, let it go. And I'm thinking, ballers don't think like that. Competitors don't think like that. Competitors want to compete. The idea of just letting it go when you're physically able to. So if Caitlin could be out on that floor, and when Caitlin can be out on that floor, Caitlin will be out on the floor. So they're not, according to Scott Agness, trying to keep Caitlin from playing. Caitlin has not decided she's not going to play. She wants to, number one, because she's a competitor, but also she's so unique in that she understands her fans want to see her. She wants her fans to be able to see her. And that's why she does what she can, what she, she's able to sign August, all that. But make no mistake about it. She is working her tail off to get back this season, which brings me to my next point. And that is people who are saying, well, the team has said they will not bring her back until she's had time to practice, to work out, all those things that are needed to get her body going again. And Scott Agness repeated several times, because there were several questions and comments about it, that there is time. See, in people's minds, they're going, oh my goodness, you don't have a lot of games left. And there's when they got this week off, but obviously this would have been ideal, right? Because she had some time off to get her back in practice. But because of the new injury, that couldn't happen. And people are looking at the calendar, looking at the schedule and saying, I don't see how this is going to work if they're going to stick by what they said and make sure she has practice. And Scott is pointing out there is absolutely time, because there are partial parts of practice. There are shoot arounds. There are different workouts. There are things that Caitlin can do. And the schedule does allow for those types of things that they're talking about in terms of making sure that she's getting out there and getting going and then is ready. So again, the hope, the prayer, the expectation is that Caitlin will return this season. And he stressed that repeatedly. That's what I get from it. She's working her way to come back. And one of the really important ones is, if you don't know, and we might not want to just be repeating just random people, because honestly, he's with the team every day and he just found out today or yesterday. The season filled with adversity adds yet another chapter. Obviously, we wish Caitlin Clark well, because ultimately this is about Caitlin, the individual, just as it's about Sydney and about Ari and about Sophie. And we wish all of them well, and our prayers are for all of them. Now, the beat goes on. So Friday, the Indiana Fever scheduled to play the #1 Minnesota Lynx. Let's go Fever. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.